I think you ought to know. About Men's Radio. The place where men and women really speak. Oh man, what a show. It's Men's Radio. This crazy show is on 3 times a week. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cause you don't know. Men's Radio, that's the place for you. With Russ, Kane, and Phil Dave.
It appears to be Monday.
No, it's Freedom Day.
No. I can't do that. Hi, everybody. Men's Radio. I'm Russ Kane. Here's Phil Dave. What's left of me anyway? You can get us on www.mensradiostation. You can hear us on Deluxe Radio. You could be hearing us very soon, I believe, on Radio Waves, which I'm excited about. Now the cruises are all starting again. And, of course, on our Men's Radio Station YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, look us up, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, because it does us a huge favor and takes you 4 seconds. You got 4 seconds to spare. Come on. There we are. Now, Philip, before we start on the complete nonsense that is Freedom Day, I think it behooves us as lovers of comedy and lovers of very nice people to pay a short but heartfelt tribute to Tom O'Connor, who passed away. Very, very lovely man. When I was chief barker of Variety, what was called Variety Club, then it changed to Variety, the children's charity, but it'll always be Variety Club in my head. Tom was incredibly supportive of me, incredibly supportive of Variety, the charity, attended loads of events and did wonderful things like handing over the coaches, the Sunshine coaches that we were famous for. I'm nothing to do with Variety now. I left after 20 plus years for political reasons, I'll leave it at that. But it's still, its heart is in the right place, let's say that. And Tom was a really lovely man. Charming man. I'm not going to go into one of these, he was my closest friend nonsenses that people always do in showbiz. But I did have a lovely quiet dinner in his lovely home. It was charming with his wife, and they were very, very nice. And old school comics. I don't know how you feel about that, Phil, but old school comics are lovely. They're mostly really very nice people.
It's ridiculous, but for me, Tom O'Connor will always just be associated with Crosswits. Do you remember that daily show that he used to present? That daily, he used to present on the BBC. So I know that he sort of was much more than that, but that's just, I always think of Tom O'Connor, I just think of Crosswits.
Well, you do. People get associated. I'm sure Bob Monkhouse people say, the golden shot. Well, he was slightly more than the golden freaking shot. But anyway, there we go. Here we go. Luke Newman, would you like to read this out, Philip?
Well, Luke Newman says, if any men out there are struggling with anxiety due to this so-called Freedom Day, please feel free to join for the Men to Talk virtual group meeting every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Well, look, I would also go a little bit further and say that if anyone's actually struggling with Freedom Day, then talk now, to be honest. It's Freedom Day. And I'm not sort of knocking. Absolutely, it's a great offer, and thank you very much indeed on behalf of anyone who can benefit from it. But absolutely speak now, really. That's exactly what I think we sometimes forget, what men's radio and women's radio is actually for. It's to be able to express feelings, knowing that we're not necessarily going to denigrate you for your feelings. You've just got to say it how it is. That's the way we work. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think you'll be able to tell there's a little bit of a spring in my step. It's because I wholeheartedly feel like there is a wave of positivity over the fact that we are one step nearer to normality. And before anyone says a thing that, the case numbers are rising, I know they're rising. I don't care about case numbers. It's not about case numbers. It's ultimately about those who have been hospitalized and ultimately about those who lose their life. And if you compare it to this last wave, to the second wave, compare it to that, compared to the number of cases now versus where we were this time, how many months back it was, and the link is 100% nowhere near as deadly as it was. Nowhere near. And I'm sorry, but it exactly.
Phil, do you know anybody? Phil,
Spanish flu is still around.
Stop. Stop. Phil, do you know anybody who's been double vaxxed who's got bloody COVID again? I do. Loads.
But I'm sure there will be people who've got it.
And they feel terrible.
Yeah, but the vaccination is not designed to stop people getting it. It's supposed to make it a weaker virus, and it's also supposed to stop fatalities. That's exactly what the flu is.
I admire your perky optimism. I do. With my back at the moment, I'm feeling very far from perky. I'll be absolutely honest with you, it's really messing with my head. But I think this Freedom Day is insanity.
Well, how long
insanity
for?
I think you have to be cautious for a very, very long time. The point is, Phil, and this is where it gets very contentious. And there's a point to this, so just let me get to the end of it before you leap in. I just took Ebony the Mini Schnauzer. What did you say?
I said like you did with me just now. Jokes.
You're just effing with me. Stop it. All right, here's the thing. I just took Ebony Mini Schnauzer for a little walk before it got blazing hot. Just a little walk. And the amount of rubbish left around, crisp packets, bottles of tin cans around where people were sitting near on a certain part of my walk was revolting. And there is a plethora of waste bins right by the seating. People are too lazy, too stupid, too self-centered, too uncaring to walk literally 15 feet, 20 feet and put their crap in a waste bin which has been provided. And yet we are living in a world, hey, let's leave it up to everyone's good sense. Jesus Christ, we're doomed, Captain Mannering. I can't be bothered, Stephen, today, but thank you, nice gag. Yeah, we're doomed. You're saying, I will be wearing a mask on public transport forever. Boom. That's it. I will not be touching surfaces any more than I did before this nightmare started, and I will, on public transport, be wearing a mask. I guarantee it, that people will be beaten up for wearing a mask. This is where this world has led. Guarantee it. Because all life seems to be doing is polarizing us. Doesn't matter what it is. Pick a subject, you'll be polarized. And wearing a mask should be a matter of personal choice. If you don't want to wear a mask, fine, but don't breathe all over me. That's my choice. And I think there will be fights and arguments over, you're wearing a mask. Yeah, that's right. How many times, Phil, and I can ask you this as a bloke, have you been in a toilet in a restaurant and someone's walked out and not washed their hands? How many times?
Countless.
There you go. I rest my case. Thank you very much. Hi, Sen. Stephen Marsh, his little joke it's a nice gag, actually. Was your Mini Schnauzer also Chief Barker? I love that gag. As it happens, she never barks. I'm not joking. She never barks. She actually clears her. She wants my attention. That's why I adore her. She clears her throat. I'm not kidding. She goes, and I go, what? Because I have endless, as we all do with our dogs, endless conversations. I mean, we all do. Come on. We all do. When you're going out, you do the I won't be long, darling speech. Does everybody do that? You go at the front, I won't be long.
Well, I never say I won't be long.
I'm just going to get some milk. I'll be right back.
My mother does say I won't be long to the dogs. I don't do that. I just normally say bye now, don't on the floor. But anyway.
To your mother? That's not nice.
Well, how it is. No, the point I'm trying
she seemed so nice when I met her. I didn't imagine she'd be doing that.
I know.
You've got a house trained by now.
I know, it's shocking, really, at this age, you'd think.
Good.
The truth is that you cannot go. I'm sorry. I mean, you might, but I can't. So let's put it that way. I cannot go on the basis that not everyone's going to be considerate, because I know we don't live in a considerate world. We knew that way before COVID was invented. We know the problem is that people are selfish. but I am not going to stop living life because people are selfish. That's hardly headline news.
You see, Phil, if they weren't shellfish and they ate kosher, I misunderstood. But it's a fabulous gag. You have to work that gag out and unpick it yourselves. Paul Rose, good afternoon. Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's an oven in my studio. Paul, you're in an oven, you fool. No. Open the door. Put yourself down to Regulo 2. It's an oven in my studio. But I'm here to enjoy the show.
Studio. Is it an artist studio and have you got a kiln in there? Maybe that's what the problem is.
He does make a lot of pottery. And he's also a blacksmith. So I know, as one of the few farriers in his area, people are always bringing in like cart horses. He's got the studio, he's got the kiln, and then he's got the fire, you know, where he's banging out the horseshoes. He's a very busy man, Paul Rose.
On the plus
side. Very busy fella.
On the plus side, he's got all the luck in the world. Can I just... If I can just point out, though, that as much as I totally understand the anxiety that people have with this, okay, and it was inevitable.
I got huge freaking anxiety.
Let's be honest, it was inevitable that, of course, there was going to be anxiety surrounding this because we've just spent the last 18 months,
I know,
under restrictions that have felt like that it was the end of the world for many, and sadly for many people it has been the end of their world.
The end of their world, been the end of their careers, the end of their businesses,
their jobs, whether it's family members they've lost, whatever it is the end of their world as they knew it.
Yeah.
But, and this is a massive but, okay, we cannot stay in this state. We cannot stay in this same position, this same sort of state of limbo forever. That very long road back to learning to live with this. And okay, there is going to be some hiccups. There are going to be hiccups along the way. And people are going to, without a shadow of a doubt, be really, really uneasy for the next probably few months, if not years. But honestly, the longer we leave it, the harder it's going to be. It's the same with anything. That's what they were saying.
I get this. Phil, I get this. Here's my problem. And it's a very, it's a serious thing. And, you know, men's radio, women's radio too, it's all about mental health and well-being. And this goes to the center of it. It really does. It's not, we're not news. You get enough news and all that, whether you call it news or not. Opinion, really, wherever you want. But we're talking about mental health and well-being, here to try and help and just open up discussions, right? Conversations. One of my best friends is a coroner, and I'm not going to mention any names. A very senior coroner. There's only, I think, 52 or 54 coroners in the entire United Kingdom, and this person, who's been a friend of mine for many years, is a very senior coroner. They feel absolutely certain that this is coming back. They feel absolutely certain that it's going to be very unpleasant. Now, you're a lovely fellow, but you're a producer and a broadcaster. We're not professionals. We're not professional health experts. We've never pretended to be. And if you have mental health problems or well-being problems, we will signpost you to the fabulous people that we have on this on the radio stations, and hopefully they can help you, or they can lead you to people. We never give out that sort of advice because that would be entirely wrong of us to do so. We've never pretended that we do. We're just two blokes with some views which you can agree with or not agree with. But when somebody who is an expert says, you know, this is just the lull before the storm, you got to listen, and it makes me very nervous.
So I'm sorry, but with respect to your friend, you've just said your friend is a coroner. Your friend is not a virologist. And at the end of the day,
Phil, come on, you're much smarter than that. You really are. You're way smarter than that.
No. Excuse me. Second, your argument just now was that we are not experts. And with respect, because someone is a coroner, it does not mean that they're an expert in virology. That's no disrespect to your friend. I'm sure they're an incredibly smart individual.
And know a hell of a lot about
I can only dream of being as intelligent. But it does not mean that they understand the ins and outs of a virus any more, by the way, than the virologists do. Because let's be honest, we're all learning as we go along.
True. But what I would say about my chum is that they have far more medical knowledge. And the point is they are talking to the people who really do. So even if your argument is, well, your friend's a coroner, not a doctor. I can accept that, except they've got way more medical knowledge than you and I could ever dream of having. But the flaw in the argument is they are listening to people who do know, not the politicians, not the pundits, not the councillors in some local council, all this crap. No, people who are actually trained for 7 years and, been looking after it for a long time. Lovely Demisa. And it would have been lovely if you'd have enjoyed Saturday night, by the way. I opioid myself up to the eyeballs, and I met my old colleague Cara Noble. I suffered for it the next day, I have to say, with my back, but it was lovely to see her. It's COVID not coming back because it hasn't gone away, says lovely Demisa. It's everywhere, and it continues to spread. I think she's right. Now, but I like your attitude. Phil, I like your attitude. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here like some old fart going, oh, you're so young. And I'm not doing that at all. I like your positive attitude. And you must do whatever that you want to do. And you will. I mean, you can listen to me. I know that. You're going to do whatever you want to do. By the same token, I hope that and you're a very reasonable guy, but other people, I hope, will respect my views and the way that I want to live my life. And many people who are equally nervous. Are we nervous? Yes. Have we been cowed into being nervous? Totally. Do we all know people who have either died or got terribly ill? Yes, we do. It's not an apocryphal story. It's not a myth. It's real.
Make no mistake whatsoever. I will never, ever knock somebody for having the views that they have or the way that they have been impacted by this very bizarre situation that, let's be honest, none of us have ever really been through before. But what I do is think logically about everything. I don't go on statistics. I don't go on premise. I go on literally logical thought process. Now, logically speaking to me, why on earth would we have invested so much time, effort, money, and hassle as a country, actually as a globe, let's be honest, into a vaccination program? If we thought for a second that it wasn't going to make any difference, if we thought for a moment that actually we're still going to have to live in fear of this, we're still going to have to impact our daily lives to the most ghastly and annoying degree ever.
Oh, it's not. Actually, I know.
To the point where, unfortunately, I still stand by this, that I'm so sure that the number of people who will be indirectly affected by COVID will far outweigh, I think it does already, to be honest, but far outweigh those who are directly affected by it. We've never done this with any other disease before in the history of any of us living now, with the possible exception of one or two who lived through the Spanish flu. But we have never done anything like this before.
Can't still be alive.
Shut down the world. I would highly doubt it.
No,
but
they can't be. Spanish flu was it 1918 or something? They're not going to be alive now, are they?
Well, it's possible, but I highly doubt it. But, who knows? The point is that with the Spanish flu, when it happened in the 1910s, the world kind of did shut down then. But without modern medicine, they got through it. Okay? And we can't carry on calling COVID-19.
At what cost?
Oh, to the
they
cost
got through it because they didn't have a choice. How many millions died? Millions.
But we don't have a choice either. We absolutely don't have a choice. We cannot keep our economy and keep our livelihoods locked down forever. And we cannot sort of pretend that if we put our fingers in our ears that this is just going to go away by itself, because it won't.
Okay.
And if we don't
really, you know what I think?
Generations.
This is what I think. And then let's read all the comments because they come piling in. Bless you guys. I love it when you do this. It's good stuff. Thank you. And it's lovely to have, when I set this up with Howard, a business partner, I said I didn't want a safe space because I think that's too tree huggy Californian bullshit. I wanted a non-judgmental space where you can say your views and you're not going to get pilloried. Like what happened to Andrew Lawrence last week, which I still can't quite get my head around. Right. We don't have a choice. So we can either stay sort of locked down or option B on your menu of crap, option B, ladies and gentlemen, is you're careful and you use common sense, which, of course, when I see all the rubbish that's piled around seats right next to rubbish bins, I think, yeah, you really care about everybody else, don't you? You self-centered, selfish bastards. That's what you are. Or C, we just go, screw it. Release the lock gates, release the dam, let it do whatever it's going to do. And take your chances.
But
take
I don't think
chances.
But option C is not happening. That's not what's being encouraged.
No, option C is happening. That's what it is.
No, it might happen as a result of people being given the freedom of choice to do what they want to do.
It is happening. It's basically, they call
not.
Who called it? Phil. Look, I was in advertising for many, many years, both in London and on Madison Avenue. It was my job to persuade people. And I've got to be honest, I was pretty good at it, which is why I never did cigarette advertising, despite the fact I was offered a fortune to do it. I wouldn't do it because I knew I would persuade non-smokers to smoke, and that was my moral line in the sand. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take the money. So what they're saying now, it basically, who came up with the word Freedom Day? Some Herbert somewhere thought, Freedom Day. It's such a pejorative term. It's a pejorative term. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not sure you do.
Well,
you're saying Freedom Day, yay!
Yeah, but all I'm hearing is doom and gloom surrounding a load of measures that, let's be honest, haven't necessarily done very much for keeping a number of people from dying so far.
Well, that's not true. That's patently not true.
But
do you not think if these men, look, everyone always, when we get into these debates, everyone just thinks, oh, it's Boris Johnson and the United Kingdom. It's global. It's global. It's not Boris Johnson and his Bullingdon mates thinking, hey, I've got a jolly good idea. They're not doing that. It's the whole world. But we're such a myopic little nation here. We don't see further than the coast of Kent. I could have gone horribly wrong. So all these other world leaders are doing the same damn thing. They're all doing it, right? Now, you can either be a conspiracy nut and saying there's a reason why they're doing it, or they're doing it for a real reason. I don't know.
Oh, no.
We'll never know. We'll never know, by the way.
Behind it.
We'll never know.
No, I don't think there's any conspiracy behind it. I think that they're in a no-win situation because I believe that most world leaders in their heart of hearts would rather put the economy first because, let's be honest, they have absolutely zero emotional attachment to anybody who pays taxes. I promise you that much. Whenever an MP says they're doing something for the benefit of you, that is rubbish. They do it for the benefit of their career, and they also do it the benefit normally for their pockets. Why wouldn't they? Because they have no emotional attachment to you as an individual.
No, don't give him monkeys. Let's whack through some of these wonderful comments because there's loads.
Hang on, let me finish the point. But the reason why I say that is that if that is the case, well then why wouldn't they prioritize the economy? But the reason why they can't prioritize the economy is because they can't be seen to be doing nothing. So this is precisely why I would say all world leaders are doing something. But now they've kind of realized that they're getting to a stage where either the pot's going to run dry or they're going to have a major problem on their hands for the next God knows how many decades. And frankly, they're just going for it because I think, frankly, if they don't do something now, well, then we're all in shtuck. And I'm sorry. Truly, I am sorry. I know this sounds harsh.
I'm going to stand up, Phil. Come on.
Fine. I know this sounds harsh. I'm well aware of it. But the awful truth is that if we don't get a grip and move on quickly and start trying to learn to live with this rather than trying to fight it, pointlessly trying to fight it, then all that's going to happen is we'll still lose however many people are going to lose to it.
With you,
top it all off, we'll be plunged into, if not more already, billions more debt that next successive generations are going to carry on paying for.
Well, that's for sure. Anyway, they're screwed. The finances are screwed. Look, I'm sorry to stand up. My back is absolutely killing me. Here's the thing. I would feel much more confident about, people using their common sense. But I asked you a question about 10 minutes ago deliberately, and it seemed like an innocent little question. How many times have you been in a toilet in a restaurant and people come out and don't even wash their hands? It's disgusting. It's the most basic. It's the most basic sanitization regime you could possibly be. You go to the loo, you wash your hands. It's not a thing you want to debate. You just freaking do it. And why you expect people to use common sense?
No, I don't.
It all falls at the first. You see what I'm saying? It all falls.
No. I never said
I can do.
No, I never said I expect people to use their common sense. I am well aware that there are going to be loads of people out there who won't use any common sense whatsoever, who are just foul and thinking about themselves only. But the awful truth is that whether they think about themselves or not, the longer we leave this, the worse it's going to be for those of us who have followed the rules. Let's not forget, not those who haven't followed the rules. They won't care less because it doesn't bother them in the first place. But the longer that we leave it for those of us who have followed the rules to the letter, it will take so much effort, so much mental energy that, let's be honest, most of us don't even have anymore.
I tell you what the real danger is here. I tell you what the real danger is. If you have laws that come into disrepute, if you have laws that people say, this is just bloody nonsense, I'm not following this, then all laws can be looked at in the same way. And that is a very slippery slope. Now, the problem is some of the laws, you just think, well, they're raving mad. This is absolute nonsense. Who the bloody hell thought of this garbage? And you ignore it. And you break the law. I go back to the example of our show that we do on a Thursday night at 6:00 with Ollie Mammon, the ABC of CBD, when you have wonderful, brave women trying to save their lives of their little children, including babies, may I say, where conventional medicine hasn't worked. And they've had to break the law in order to do something which seems eminently sensible and, most importantly, works for their child, has saved their lives. When law comes into disrepute, you got anarchy. Oh, man, we are just rushing that. Let's read some of these fantastic comments. There's so many of them. Let's kick off right at the beginning. Right, here we go. Barry J. Allen. Sadly, social distancing isn't carried out by the customers in our shop for ages. I've had enough by the end of the week. My significant other went to get a sandwich the other day and people came up. It's a tiny shop right behind, no masks, fine, but right behind, when you can feel them breathing. And she had to turn around and say, would you mind moving? And they said, I can't actually get out the shop unless you move. This is the mentality we're dealing with. Geniuses here. Lovely Demisa. Should we do this alternatively, Philip? That's called producing on the fly. Lovely Demisa says it's COVID. It's not coming back because it hasn't gone away. It's everywhere and it continues to spread.
Let's see. Where have we got up to then?
We've got to go way up.
It's way back.
Yeah, we've got
really active today. Good gracious.
It's beautiful of you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. It's great. Okay. So, Joan, while you're catching up, Joan Noble, I agree with Russ. Hi, Joan. How are you?
Dave Sleet says,
love to Emma.
PA works with the globe's the globe's most highly qualified epidemiologists who agree with you, Russ.
Blimey, Christ, lovely Demisa. This government, she's slightly to the left of Trotsky, by the way, but I love her. She's great. This government does not listen to experts when those experts tell them things that the government disagree with. I know. It never listens to teachers, which is Leslie's area of expertise. Never listens to teachers, and it seems doesn't really listen to scientists, whether they're virologists or not. Phil, Leslie, can't argue with you.
It may be Freedom Day, but we have our son's bar mitzvah party next Sunday. Mazel's off.
Strange,
and we're terrified of getting pinged to self-isolate. I really don't want to leave the house. Well, Paul, I hate to say it, that's kind of the trick. Don't, frankly.
Wow. Linda Dave, no relation.
I don't mean rude, but genuinely, if there is a fear of being pinged, then you've kind of got to do that. You take it upon yourself not to do that then. because it's going to be the only way to guarantee it if you don't come into contact with someone.
Walk me through this. This is really important. So let's just encapsulate this. Paul Rose's big family event next Sunday. It's a party to celebrate his son's 13th birthday. Okay. What happens if he's pinged? So that means he's gone to a shop. He's scanned the code going in. Is this what I'm saying? Or he's gone to a restaurant and scanned the code.
Yeah, you never know for sure where it actually pings you from, because the idea of the track and trace is you scan barcodes of where you have been and come into contact with people, and then what will happen is if within, I think it's something like 24, 36 hours, something like that, if you have come into contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19, then and you register that, your app anonymously informs those who have come into contact within close proximity to you, whether it's a shop, a restaurant, wherever, that someone has tested positive, and they recommend you isolate for, I think it's, if not 7 days, 10 days, possibly.
I thought 86%, I saw something, it was in the 80% have taken their app off their phone now. It's 80+% people have said, oh, stop this, and they've taken it off their phone. Linda Dave, nervous? I'm terrified.
T Green, good afternoon, chaps. Thank you, Sue.
Green. Best vocal coach in the country. If you need to be taught how to sing, T Green is your man. He's also a very nice guy. He always looks, he's so funny because he looks like he's come from the mob that you owe money to, and he's there to break both your legs and arms, and he's the loveliest man on the planet. He's just sweetheart. Ramsey says
about me as well. They think
they think you are a hitman for the South London gang. I'm not mentioning because I'd like to live a couple of more weeks till I finish my book. Ramsey says the journey I used to do back in the day when you could get what is this Radio Norwich now? When you could get the two. Ramsey,
bus.
It's a bus thing. Be honest with you. Love you, man. You're great. I don't want the whole bus in the Shigast here. Paul Andrews, we do have to open up, just like last year. It'll save some businesses and people won't stand it for much longer. Totally agree. Oh, but a surgeon friend, you see, this is where my heart sinks. But a surgeon friend told me his operating room had once again been taken over for expected influx of ICU patients. Oh.
Sue Sleet says, hi guys.
You see, Phil, you can't argue with that.
Well, I hate to say,
does that not make you scared? Does that not make you think, wow, that, they're not mucking about there? The guy's a surgeon. It's his operating theatre. He's not making this up.
Look, I am by no stretch of the imagination a COVID denier. Okay, I fully appreciate, whether you believe this or not, I fully appreciate that there is a condition out there, a virus out there that is most contagious, in some very limited cases, deadly. But I also appreciate that however rubbish some people may feel who have this disease, the vast majority do get over it after a few days, if not a week. It's unpleasant. It's very unfair.
Ask Sam Kane and Linda Lusardi, and they would rip your head off if you said that to them.
I have no issue whatsoever with saying it to their face. It was pre-vaccination they went through what they went through. No issue whatsoever.
That is true. All I would say is this. Sam and Linda are good friends of mine, right? Sam went up. He left his bed in one hospital ward, went to see his wife, Linda Lusardi, in another hospital to say goodbye to her. That's how ill they were.
Oh, I remember it well. I remember
he went to say goodbye to Linda. He thought she was going to die. And these people, they're the most down to earth. The reason I'm saying it is they're not hysterics. They're not Love Island contestants. They are the most down to earth, sensible people you could wish to meet. And it was shocking. Okie dokie. Sue Sleep. Hi, guys. Sue Sleep in Fife. Via
Bromley and Staples Corner. That's
Thank you very much. Your starter for 10. No conferring. Phil Dave, Keys College, Cambridge.
It's been a while.
Spinola Road in 1410. All right. Hi, guys. Just stopping in for a bit off on a training walk with Dave Sleet isn't it weird? She knows someone called Dave Sleet and her name's Sue Sleet. What are the chances? For the Yellow Heart Half Marathon Wellbeing Walk happening in September, 10K today in the Scottish, and we'll never know. She was never heard of again because it ends there, in the Scottish Loch. In the Scottish Loch.
No, she's got an emoji there that says got sunshine, so in the Scottish sunshine. But can I just suggest, though?
Jesus, you kids, I can't even see that. I can see a yellow thing. I don't know what the hell it is.
Can I suggest, though, that if they are, sort of, if she's in Fife via Staples Corner and Bromley, maybe she doesn't have so much of a Scottish accent. Just a thought.
She does for the purposes of comedy.
Oh, I see.
Does for the purposes of keeping myself, and she does for the purposes of keeping myself amused. To be perfectly honest with you.
Sen Monroe says, we live in a democracy and we have choices to make, not just about masks, but about a lot of things. I will always respect people who make choices about how they live their life. Amen to that. It could be as simple as what color socks they want to wear and so on. But I'm free to make my choices too. I won't wear a mask. I want to live, not merely exist. Unless I am compelled by law, then I won't wear a mask. But if people want to, that is totally up to...
Here is an absolute... I've got to jump in. Here's an absolute personal issue that I have. And I know, I've met Sen a couple of times, but we chat on the phone, and he's a very, very nice man. And his heart's in the right place. He's generous-spirited man. He's putting on a huge barbecue next Saturday, and I am debating whether to attend. No, we've spoken about it, so I'm not saying that's out. And he says, look, I totally understand. If you can come, wonderful. If you can't, we'll have. And I've said to Sen, I would rather you, me, and Phil met at the Soho Whiskey Club, had a couple of drams and a cigar, and just chit-chatted. The fact, and this is his choice, please don't think I'm being prescriptive about it. If Sen doesn't want to wear a mask, fine. But by the same token, and Sen will understand this, and this is just one tiny example in millions of examples around the world. It's my choice to say, the barbecue on Saturday, Sen hasn't been wearing a mask. We're going to see each other. Do I want to take that risk? I can see Sen any other time under more controlled circumstances. As long as everybody says, yes, I understand that. Sen gets it as the host, I get it as a guest, and we're still friends, that's absolutely fine. It's where life would get difficult is if I said, Sen, you're an irresponsible lunatic, and how dare you? We can't be friends anymore. And Sen says, well, how dare you be such a stick in the mud, you old fool? You're not coming to my event. I hate you. That's when life would get horrible. So we have to be understanding of each other's feelings.
Oh, I completely agree. And if
not everybody will be. That's my point, Phil. You've got to be adult about it.
But if I have given you the impression at any stage that I am not sensitive towards other people's feelings, then that is totally and utterly not my intention, and I apologize. But believe me,
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that as a subtext.
No, but I'm just making sure you know that, because people know. I want that to be very clear that I'm absolutely not denigrating the way anyone feels. I'm saying how I personally feel about it and how I personally intend to start getting myself out of this ridiculous mire that we find ourselves
on Fridays. You see, here's the thing. Here's where I get confused. Wow, this is like the quickest show we've ever done. On Fridays, when you broadcast elsewhere, and I always joke you're doing your Alvin Stardust impression because you wear your black cotton gloves.
Yes.
Right? And everyone going, why is Phil? And I go, well, because he doesn't want to touch anything. And I get that.
Where a sign that says that.
But I get confused. You see, I find it confusing. Genuinely, I'm not being disingenuous here. That you will go into that particular room in that particular building and you won't touch any surface. You'll wear black cotton gloves the entire time. It shows that you're concerned.
No, it shows that I'm a germaphobe, which I have been for as long as we've known each other. And okay, I never used to wear gloves, but now I've sort of kind of got carte blanche to wear them without people thinking I'm completely round the bend. Make no mistake, I absolutely recognize that there are things flying around, but I was always very twitchy about the concept of catching cold and flu way before COVID was invented. Yeah. So believe me, Yeah, but sorry, it's kind of been proven to have come out of a lab in China, pretty much. So I'm not really going to start sort of quibbling with that. As far as I'm concerned, they're just confirming what we've known all along. But let's not get involved in that now.
And just let's just make one point. What's the one country that has benefited hugely from COVID? One country has just gone ahead, leaps and bounds, bought up swathes of Africa. Swathes of it, like everyone's busy trying to stay alive. What's the one country? We know what it is.
This is a COVID testing kit.
Where does it come from, young Phil?
What it says on the bottom of the box.
Made in China. All you need to know.
If that isn't everything you need to know, I don't know what is.
It's all you need to freaking know. And by the way, everybody, please just understand this. The reason that the Chinese, it's in my book, by the way, that we're 30,000 words into now. The reason the Chinese are buying up huge swathes of Africa is not because they wanted to do David Attenborough films. It's because they're buying out land which has rich minerals. And a lot of those minerals, here's a surprise, go towards your electric car batteries. Just leave it there, shall we? Lovely Demisa. No, we cannot keep everything shut down forever. We can choose to behave responsibly. Absolutely.
100%.
But everyone's got to.
But what I'm telling
everyone's got to buy into that. You see what I'm saying? Because otherwise we're all going crazy. I mean, I feel weird about this.
Yes, but you cannot legislate that everyone behaves, because I promise you we've seen this. We've seen this already over the last goodness knows how many months. If someone wants to behave, then they will behave. If someone doesn't want to behave, then they won't. It really is as simple as that. The bottom line is, and this, I feel like we're going over old ground with this, but this country does not have strict enough rules in place, strict enough discipline in place, that if someone was to step out of line, there would be harsh consequences. We've said this before many times on this show, from something as trivial to something extreme. The bottom line is that if you are not going to have any consequences for your actions, well, then why the heck would you do something?
Why should you bother? Why should you even? Oh, hang on.
But that is kind of my point, whilst Russ deals with that. But that's kind of my point, is if there are no harsh consequences for stepping out of line, why on earth would anyone even bother doing something that disrupts their lives? How many times did we hear? I don't know about you, but I used public transport a fair bit in recent months. I didn't use it to start with because I was the same. I didn't really want to go near public transport if I could help it. But I can't count the number of times I have heard announcements over the last few weeks that I've been using it, saying something along the lines of, if you don't wear your face covering, well, it says actually what they try and do is they encourage you to wear your face covering, quote, unless you're exempt. Well, you try proving that someone is or is not exempt. But wear your face covering unless you're exempt. Oh, hello.
Good news. My son, who is hiding it, has arrived, and he's went over to my lovely friend Larry Viner, who has unbelievably and kindly given me a brand new standing desk, a desk at which I can stand up. So my son kindly went all the way over to Larry's home, picked it up, and has arrived. And I am extra excited. It's a marvelous thing.
Look at that. Well, very good. Now, the announcement on public transport saying, please wear your face covering unless you are exempt. If you don't wear a face covering, you could face a fine. Well, I don't know about you.
Nobody bothered.
Don't know why it's been fine. So if you are not going to implement the punishment that you threaten, it's exactly like when you try to train a dog. It's exactly the same way that when you try and train or raise a child. If you are not going to stick to your threats, then guess what? It means nothing.
This is the point. This goes back to
the societies that we have.
Phil, this goes back exactly to the point when laws are disregarded or seen as stupid, they fall into disrepute. And then it comes back to personal responsibility. If you're sitting on the tube carriage, as you and I have done many times, we are masked and gloved up, and other people aren't. Do you say something? Do you want your face kicked in? Who the hell knows? So you sit there fuming, and don't brave people say, could you wear a mask, please?
Can I just say, I've noticed this before, but Sun and Air makes a superb scatter cushion.
Nobody makes me laugh quite as much as he does. It's just so.
But anyway,
it's so fun.
Just saying,
Such a nice thing for him to do. He's dragged all the way over.
Good work.
Hey, I'm going to change the subject for us. So I'm going to change the subject again. Right. Have you ever worn the new virtual reality headset?
Which
from
one?
Yesterday. Well, I don't know. What's the name? PlayStation VR. PlayStation
Oh, I see.
VR. Okay.
I haven't used PlayStation
So
virtual reality.
PlayStation VR. So anyway, Twin One says, "Oh, I've just got this stuff. Do you want to try it on the race? I love racing games, driving games." So I thought, I remember the last time I put on virtual reality goggles. It was awful. I mean, they were just rubbish. So I put this thing on. He says, "Choose a car." So I chose a car. I freaked out. It is so real. You put these big goggles on, which are all powered up, and then you put the headset over it. You are in the car. I don't mean you think you're everything. It was so realistic. I was putting my hand out to touch the rear view mirror, touch the switch. You can't believe the reality. Then you're driving around, whichever course you choose. You've got thousands of cars, thousands of courses, day, night, whatever. And of course, when you crash, it's horrific. It feels so real. I was so caught up in it.
Oh, that's why your back's twinged up again.
When I'd finished, I said, "Could you get me out?" Thinking, this is how your brain plays tricks. He had to come and literally open the door of the Le Mans racing car to let me out. I didn't realize I was just sitting in his bedroom watching it was incredible. If you've never tried it, I can't tell you what it's like. Absolutely extraordinary. It all went well until he put me into a Formula One racing car. I felt so sick. I had to sit outside. I really thought I was going to throw up. Because you're thrown around. Oh, my God. Of course, you're not thrown around. You're sitting in a chair.
With 10 minutes to spare, let's try and rattle through some more of these comments. Because Marcello Guglielmucci says, "I will try and keep trying social distancing, and I'll still wear a mask where there are lots of people. And at work, they are making it mandatory to still wear masks and still have screens at the tills. I'm quite happy doing this whilst at work." So... Marcella, actually, you know what? You're right. A lot of companies are doing this. They're sort of implementing their own restrictions, because obviously they want to try and keep their employees safe wherever they can. So why not, indeed? Have you caught it? Arcade, you know where we're at?
No, I
Stephen Marsh is next. Stephen Marsh says, "Wishing you well, Russ. I can see you're struggling a bit by the change of your position in your chair." He wishes you well.
Bless you. Thank you. I just got an arrival of some wonderful balms from Ollie Mammon at the Tincture Club. I've put some on, and I'm going to try the CBD route as well. Thank you, Stephen.
Right, Dave Sleet, greetings one and all. APA works with one of the globe's most qualified epidemiologists who would agree with you, Russ. Vaccine is a misrepresent. Oh, we've already read that one. Sorry, haven't we? Moving on. Ramsey says it's a false down. So many businesses will get respite only for another lockdown in September. My friend in Melbourne is on his fifth lockdown.
Fifth lockdown. I know, and Leo Sayer was saying only yesterday that it's chaos over there. They're trying to get live gigs. It all went marvelous, and then it all got closed down again. And he's really, all over the place with this thing. Lovely Demisa. Until there was public and media outcry this weekend, our leader and his cronies were up for being totally irresponsible. So much for leading by example. Oh, it's chaos. Absolute chaos.
Yeah,
we don't do politics. I don't want to do politics.
Make no mistake. I think they realised very quickly they're going to have another Dominic Cummings situation on their hand. But yes, absolutely. Ramsey says, "Sen, but in your case, wearing a mask will deny the world the chance to see your handsome face." So there you go. You are excused.
Jesus Christ. Move on quickly. Rosemary Jessup.
Sen, yes. Right.
Rosemary Jessup. I still wear this because she looks after horses. I still wear a mask. Use hand sanitizer. Yep. Try to social distance. Yep. And that's my choice. I'm with you all the way there. COVID hasn't gone away. That's what I do. I'm with you all the way.
Sen Monroe.
You're delusional. Move on. Paul Rose.
Says, If you are of the opinion that the wearing of a mask is an affront to your freedom, please share your views with anyone living in a dictatorship. I'm sure they'll welcome you with open arms. Paul, I don't think people are saying that it's an affront to living in a dictatorship or anything like that. But what they are saying is that it should be their choice if they want to wear a mask or not. Now, as much as I would personally carry on, just again, for the record, I have every intention of, whilst on public transport, to carry on wearing a mask, possibly for the rest of my days.
Always.
I don't see going back to not wearing a mask on public transport. But at the same time, if I want to walk into a shop where I'm not standing anywhere near anyone, I don't really want to be forced into wearing a mask in that situation. I would rather not, if I'm honest. But hey, look, I get it. I understand why. But anyway.
Right, let's dash across to Spain. Chrissy Richards, it's chaos here. That's in Spain. Government blame for everything. Also, cases are rising rapidly, but they... there you go. But they want tourists for the economy. Of course they do. Spain thrives and survives. Oh, that rhymed. Little haiku there. On the tourist industry.
Just use to say it's a haiku, for Christ. Can't you just say you're a poet and you didn't know it like most normal?
No.
You have to use the correct terminology, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Joan Noble, mother of the magnificent Emma. You're right, Russ. Pandemic means the whole world, not just the UK. And Chrissy Richards, it's disgusting. Also, the way they leave the premises too. That's over in Spain, so it's not a UK.
I assume the facilities she refers to. Michael Watson reckons about 40% of men wash their hands after using the facilities. Disgusting.
Oh, please. God's sake. See, people, Marcella Guglielmucci says, seeing people not washing their hands after using the toilet makes my stomach turn. I watch them, and then I see where they're sitting in the restaurant, and I give them the stink eye. I do, because I think, you dirty bastard.
Oh, I don't. I go up and offer them hand gel.
Do you really? I bet you probably do, actually.
Sometimes I've done that before. And also when I've seen...
How was the hospital food?
Well, luckily it's not been accessible at the moment, so I had to do some home recovery. But what happened recently, I have sort of... Not so much recently, sorry, but in the past what I've done is if I've seen people drop litter on the floor, I absolutely won't hesitate. I'll just go up to them and say, excuse me, you dropped this. And they're so shocked, they normally take it back. I know full well they've thrown it down again on the street in the next street, but I don't care. I've made the point that someone's watched, someone's seen what they've done.
You don't do that in Singapore, and you get into huge trouble, as you should. It's disgusting.
Ramsey said, I hate nothing more than being at a sink in a communal facility to see on the mirror someone coming out of a trap. What?
Cubicle.
Oh, I see. And then walking out without even washing their hands after presumably dealing with themselves. I have to take paper towel to touch the door handle. It's revolting. Well, quite. Ramsey,
years and years ago, I had a big thing with Tarot, and I said I won't touch any handles inside a toilet, a public toilet.
Me neither.
Went, what? I said I won't touch them. Of course,
no, me neither. Absolutely.
I won't go near them.
If I absolutely have to touch the handles to get out of the door, sometimes I'll wait, because if there's a high traffic, then there's always someone to open the door from the other side eventually. But if not, if I do absolutely have to touch a handle, then I've always got hand gel with me. Again, that was something I did way before COVID came along. Have hand gel with me. I would just use hand gel to clean my hands and just get on with it, just to get it out of the way. But
what I'm surprised is they didn't re-release Robbie Williams' Angel, just called it hand gel. I look around, there's a hand gel that I put on my hands. And do you know? Go on, move on.
Places people go and what they touch.
People go and what they touch, you don't want to know.
Let's move on to a couple of other comments, shall we? We've got Paul Andrews here. I will wear a mask whenever I feel the need to. I only mix with people who I know have similar safe attitudes. It could end up like Brexit again, but at least my Facebook newsfeed will be quicker to read each morning. Well, quite, Paul. Absolutely right indeed. The best way to clear the rubbish on the Facebook feed is to unfriend people. Speaking of which, Russ, I haven't seen anything from you for a while. Sen, I totally understand. Oh, by the way, Lovely Demisa says, Russ, please phone me when the show finishes today. You really need to get your back sorted. Remember, I have a brilliant chiropractor. And after you've seen him, lunch at B&K on me, not literally.
No, well, I'm not going if it's not literally on, if I don't lay salt beef or whatever, just on Leslie Demisa. Here's the thing. Leslie Demise, when I go and they start prodding around on my back, it sends it into absolute spasms. I try and avoid it. Thank you for the offer, but I'll give you a tinkle, but I don't think I can do it. It just makes it infinitely worse. Go on. Right. I once saw his personal trainer in the park go relieve himself behind a tree and they sauntered back over to his group and carry on handing out pens and clipboards to his customers.
I mean, one can only imagine.
Even my son is sitting there going,
how he guides himself through that. To the left, to the right, and shake it up and down. I can only imagine. Anyhow, right. I'm so sorry. How disgusting.
Ramsey says, apparently long COVID affects 1 in 3 in some way. That's a sobering thought. The thing you don't want, I'm with you, Phil, all the way, that it doesn't save you from it. But the long COVID, which no one seems to know sod all about, is really, really what you don't want. You do not want that. That's a lifetime. No. That's a lifetime of grief.
Oh, so listen, for what it is worth, I have long suspected that since, and I don't know if I've ever said this out loud before because I don't really want to sort of worry people, put them off, but it's kind of true. It's how I feel and it's what I believe to be the case. Ever since, no funny comments about people saying they've never noticed, but ever since I feel that I had COVID back in March last year, I feel as though my ability to string a sentence together is more of an effort. To the same degree.
Brain fog.
Yeah, to the same degree that actually once in a while I do really stumble across my words, whereas I used to be, I think, relatively fluent when speaking because I'd spent really a whole career trying to build up to that stage. And now, even during the course of this show, I have had moments where I think to myself, no, hang on, what am I saying? I've got to say it like this. And I do have to work harder at it. So there's no doubt in my mind that there is absolutely some sort of ramification for it. And I'm not saying for a second that I wouldn't want to see people do all they can to avoid it. But all I am saying is that if people blindly avoid it, what they're not necessarily thinking of is what else they might be walking into. And the mental health ramifications of what they might be walking into could be 100 times worse. Don't just go blindly assuming that because you're avoiding COVID that suddenly your life's going to be a bed of roses. There could be consequences that are far more dire than anything COVID has to offer. And people don't think like that. And that's what worries me.
Yes. What is that you're holding? Says Julia Hersey. Oh, dirty girl. Paul Andrews, I will wear my mask whenever I feel I need to. I only mix with people who I know have similar safe attitudes. Yep. It could end up like Brexit again. Oh, we're already there. But at least my Facebook newsfeed will be quicker to read each morning. Totally get that. Totally get that. There's a new support group for long COVID on Facebook. One of my friends is involved in a big way. She's suffering. Oh my God. She's still suffering from the after effects 1 year on. Oh yeah. Oh yes. What is this? Paul odious, self-seeking. Sorry, what are we saying here? Don't know what that means.
I think you'll find that Ramsey is replying to Paul Andrews, who says, I see Katie Hopkins has got deported from Oz after she was supposed to appear in Big Brother VIP over there. Big Brother VIP, by the way, is the Australian version of Celebrity Big Brother. And Katie Hopkins was supposed to be in the Australian version of that. And Ramsey, in response to that, says, Paul, odious, self-seeking racist. Katie, not you. Well, Ramsey, that may well be one opinion, but I'm sure she would argue to the contrary.
I'm not going to get drawn into
mind that she's not here.
So. Whole thing, just not. We very good, great. That, Chrissy. I'm delighted you got a good chiropractor in Spain. That could not be the most possible convenient fellow or lady for me to see, but bless you for the offer. Oh, come on, Paul Claridge. My friend Helen died from long COVID only in her late 40s. Whoa. Nothing like ending on an up note. It's been very interesting, but the point about all of this is this, if I may try and do a summation. It's not the physical side of it, just that we wanted to talk about. It's the mental health attitude of it, which really is so important. We've got to try not to be divided. That is the thing. Try not to be divided, to be pushed into one camp. or another. It's just so unhelpful, and this divisiveness is a horrible way to live. It's just not right.
We'll see you Wednesday midday. Bye.